Sometimes it can feel like there's almost nothing you can do to save the places that you love for wildlife. But that's not always the case. Let me introduce you to Middlewick Ranges. Middlewick Ranges is a 76-hectare local wildlife site on the outskirts of the city of Colchester. Most of the site is made up of acid grassland, and it is in fact the largest area of this habitat in the whole of Essex. Among this, there are swathes of deciduous woodland, sandy scrapes, a small stream, and large patches of gorse. With such a variety of habitats, thousands of species have set up home here, and as a lot of the site is open to the public, it's a valuable asset for people as well. So being such a valuable place for wildlife and people alike, you might be surprised to hear that the future of Middlewick Ranges is not guaranteed. The owners of the land have been trying to sell it to property developers, but local people have been taking a stand. Today I'm going to be exploring the site, showing you some of the habitats and the wildlife that lives here, but also meeting some of the people who are taking action to save this place from development. And what habitat would be better to start with than the acid grasslands which I've spoken about so much already? One species which relies on grassland and is present in high numbers at Middlewick Ranges is the ever showy skylark. Known for their habit of flying high and singing their territorial songs, skylarks will also sing from perches and from the ground itself. Sadly, their numbers have declined by more than 60% over the last 60 years, in part due to changing farming practices and also how grasslands are managed. Here they have to be wary of a more short-term decline in the form of predation by short-eared owls. These are one of our rarest breeding owls, with between 600 and 2,200 pairs nesting in the UK each year. They are quite unique as well, in that they are often active during the daytime, especially throughout the winter. Most of their diet is made up of voles and other small mammals, but they'll also hunt birds and even insects if food is scarce. I doubt they have that problem here, but if they do, there are plenty of insects to choose from. Almost 1,500 different species of invertebrate have been recorded at this site, including lots of butterflies, such as this beautiful green hair streak. And plenty of spiders too. More than a quarter of all the spider species that have been recorded in the UK have been found at Middlewick Ranges. This one's a crab spider, an ambush predator who sits in wait on top of a flower head for any unsuspecting flies. Sometimes they can be really well camouflaged with the flowers that they are on, but I'm guessing that this one is hoping that its prey is colourblind. Grasslands and farmlands sometimes share similar species, and one, which is a well-known farmland specialist but resident of Middlewick, is the linnet. Just like skylarks, their numbers have plummeted since the 1960s, and although reliable data on them is hard to come by before 1994, they have declined by 23% since then. At certain times of the year, the grasslands here are peppered with waxcap fungi. At least 21 different species have been identified, and more are probably hiding in plain sight, as they need to be examined under a microscope to accurately separate some similar species. You might be wondering how I found out about Middlewick. It is almost 100 miles from home after all. And the answer is Readly. Readly is an app that provides unlimited access to over 8,000 digital magazines and newspapers. While searching for conservation success stories, I found this article about Middlewick. Sadly, the situation has changed a little bit since then, which I'll get onto later in this video. If, like me, you love reading about wildlife, you can find every edition of the BBC Wildlife magazine, the Country Farm magazine, and the Birdwatching magazine on Readly, alongside other topics and publications. Away from wildlife, I'm quite into fish keeping, and since using the app I've rediscovered the Practical Fish Keeping magazine. I've got a lot of catching up to do. Readly are kindly supporting this video, and if you're interested in trying the app for yourself, then either scan this QR code that's on the screen now or visit the link down below. They are giving a free 2-month trial to everybody who clicks the link, and as you can cancel at any time, you've got nothing to lose. As I carried on exploring, I wasn't having much luck in finding any live wildlife to share with you, probably because of the pouring rain. But I did meet with 4 people who've been campaigning to protect the site, and as I carry on walking around, I'll share some of their thoughts and stories.
I just walk. I bring the grandsons to do their thing, and I supervise them. We used to go on gruffalo hunts years ago, but now we go on tree climbing hunts. And we go on blackberry picking sessions, and we go on, let's talk about what we've got on the ground now, which we see stag beetles and shield beetles and butterflies and stuff. That's what we do.
The patches of deciduous woodland at Middlewick are home to a wide array of species, including lots of secretive mammals. Red foxes are common here, and I did in fact see one during my visit, although it ran away faster than I could get my camera set up to film it. This isn't too surprising though, as if you watch my recent Facts About Red Foxes video, you'll know that they have the strongest sense of hearing for any known land mammal, stronger even than bats. And whilst I'm on the topic, at least 9 species of bat have been recorded here, and some of them are breeding in the woods. These are Natterer's bats, and they are emerging from an old woodpecker hole where they've been roosting throughout the day. They'll spend the night on the wing, chasing and catching hundreds, perhaps even thousands of flying insects. Some sources suggest that they can eat up to 3,000 in a single night. Of the other bat species that have been recorded here, barbastrel are the rarest. Only around 5,000 are thought to live in the whole of the UK, although it is difficult to accurately estimate their populations. I was surprised to find out that the only species of deer that is regularly seen at Middlewick is the muntjac. Elsewhere in Essex, fallow deer are really common, and I'd expected this to be a perfect site for them. It does seem that the area is a near perfect site for another much rarer species, the nightingale. A survey in 2012 and followed up again in 2024 found that Middlewick is the second best site for them in the whole of the UK. In 2024, at least 50 nesting territories were found, representing more than 1% of the entire UK population. Another fairly rare bird uses the woodland here as well, to announce its presence and to call for a mate, the cuckoo. Cuckoos famously leave their eggs to be raised by other bird species, and by the end of June, a lot of the adult birds have already left to head back to Africa where they spend the winter. Earlier in this video, I mentioned how the situation at Middlewick has changed since I first heard the story of the site. It had been proposed that 1,000 houses would be built there, but although this plan was scrapped when the local council realised how valuable the area was, the site's owners are currently still trying to sell it to property developers. The future here is very much up in the air.
Middlewick is a place that I've come to enjoy the wildlife. It's a place that always surprises me. There's always something different to enjoy, something different to look at, people to meet as well. But it's the fact that this is a place that has been here undisturbed for hundreds of years, and the fact that there's a threat to it just doesn't bear thinking about.
One of the other species-rich habitats here are the relatively small sandy scrapes. Here, a battle of life and death is taking place in miniature. Alongside lizards, snakes and slowworms, In this micro world, it is the invertebrates who take centre stage. This is a green tiger beetle, and despite being only half an inch long, they are ferocious and agile predators. Ants, caterpillars and small spiders are all on the menu, and as green tiger beetles can run up to 5 miles per hour, their prey doesn't have much chance of getting away. Of course, they have other priorities alongside feeding, creating the next generation. After mating, the females lay their eggs in the sandy soil, where they hatch and become tunnel-dwelling larvae. Another resident of the sandy scrapes also lays its eggs under the ground, but the bee wolf takes things a step further. They bury food with their eggs. Although this bee may look dead, it has actually been paralysed by the bee wolf's sting, and she is now in the process of burying it alive for her larvae to feed on when they hatch. Many solitary bees use the soft sandy soil as a base for their egg laying as well. This green-eyed flower bee will dig a burrow, lay a single egg, and then deposit some pollen before refilling the hole and letting her larvae develop alone. Some larger animals benefit from the sandy soil too, one of the UK's best loved mammals for instance. There is at least one badger set at Middlewick, and as they often roam at more than a mile from their set each night, they are probably visiting all of the site, and some of the surrounding areas too. Sadly, my day of exploring Middlewick Ranges was coming to an end, but I'll definitely be back again soon, hopefully on a dry and sunny day, and hopefully when the site is given the full protection that it so clearly deserves. If you'd like to find out more about the campaign to save Middlewick, I'll post a link for that down below. If you'd like to discover more wildlife, check out this video that's on the screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
If the worst happens and the wick were built on, it would be devastating. Mainly for the wildlife that would be impacted. I mean, this is an irreplaceable site that can't be reproduced anywhere else. And the hit the wildlife would take, even building a small number of homes, but in particular the hundreds that they're planning, would be devastating.